Welcome to this introduction to Atrium. Atrium is a web-based menuing portal, part of the Profound UI suite from Profound Logic Software. So we have Atrium set up with our banner here for our organization, but what does Atrium actually do? Well, it's designed to externalize the menu in the left-hand side here for your ERP system on your text-based menus. So if we have a look at our example here, this could be, for example, our main menu in our ERP system. These could be menu options to further menus. There could be 2 or 3 or 4 levels deep. So let's use this as an example. So we could externalize these menu options and any submenus in Atrium. And we do that with what's called a macro. So Genie will navigate through our menu system to arrive at the target screens. In the process of doing that, we can actually list all of the menus on the left hand side here, all the submenus. The whole menu can be externalized so the user can see the option before they start a session. So why would you want to externalize your menus? Well, this particular menu has various screens. Some are rich display files which have been modernized. Some are green screens which are just rendered by Genie. You have these old menus that are driving them. These sort of went out of fashion decades ago. So you have an old text-based menu to access your new modern screens. The other thing is a user is trying to find a menu option. They have to navigate through all the options, the whole tree, to find what they're looking for. If it's been externalized, they can find it very quickly on the left-hand side here, even use a search to find a menu option. So the old text-based menus are problematic for that reason, but they form an important part of the security of your application. Often these are role-based authority. If the user takes an option which they don't have authority to, the menu will block access. That is very important. So it forms an integral part of your application. Replacing these menus is really not practical. So Atrium uses these menus to navigate through to the target screens using macros. So let's look at how that operates. Let's go into the control panel and to our Genie macro section. The first thing we need to do is to identify all the screens the macro needs to work with. So if we go back to Genie here, let me sign off. The first screen that may come up may be this display program messages. It may or may not appear depending on what other sessions are running. So we need to detect this screen first. So I'm going to add a screen. And to detect this screen, we're looking for this text in this position on the screen. So fortunately, Genie has our design toolbar. We can select that field. We know it's row 1, column 16. I can double click and Control C to copy to set it up in a macro. Row 1, column 16. So let's add row 1, column 16, and here's our text. I'll just get rid of the leading spaces, although it's optional. That's our first screen detected. Now the second screen will be our main menu. So this is row 1, column 28. Let's add our second screen. Row 1, column 28 is what we need to add next. Okay, so 2 screens have been created. Now we need to create a macro to use those screens to navigate. So our macros are created down here. This macro will be used by most menu options. I'm going to call it the name of our organization, Pathway. Okay, now we build our macro using these screens. So let's add a screen to our macro. In the first screen, if we go through a process again, our first screen is display program messages. So display program messages is our first screen. I'll explain this detect once in a minute. Let's add the screen. We add an action. The action is simply to press a key, which is enter. Okay, that one's done. So the second screen is our main menu. Let's add a screen. It's our main menu. I'm going to put this detect once on again. This essentially means that this action will only occur once in any given session, and that'll make sense in a little while. So once we get to our main menu, what do we need to do? We need to put our option number 1, 2, 3, 4 in this field here, which happens to be row 20, column 7. So let's add an action, row 20, column 7, and our action data could be 1, 2, or 3, or 4, but we want to use a variable name so it can be reused. So let's put a variable value and we'll call it menu option, min opt. Then the second action we need to take is to press enter. Once we put the option number, we press enter. So second action, press a key, enter. Okay, what I would like to do is add a second entry, a second screen to a macro. Basically, if I want to run an option here, I want to put menu option 1, for example. When I exit out, I don't want the user to see the menu. I want to sign off the session or end the session. So the menu is hidden completely from the end user. So to do that, I need to add another screen, which is the main menu again. Remember, the first main menu had detect once turned on. The second time the main menu appears, I want to take a different action, and that action will be to close the browser or tab. It'll end the session. Okay, so our macro is created with all the screens. We then need to go and create the menu options using the macro. So this is our main menu options. I'm going to add a menu item, and the first one will be called features green. Let's give it a name. It is a Genie macro. The macro name will be pathway. Our menu option will be option 1. And we're done. Let's go ahead and create the other menu options. The second one will be features converted. Again, it's our macro, pathway, option 2. Third one will be features enhanced. And option 3. And the last one, features drag. And it will be option 4 for a macro. Okay, let's go and see how that operates. Here are our 4 menu options. Features green takes me straight to the green screen. Version, exit, signs me off. The same with converted. Exit takes me back. Enhanced, and drag. Exit, signs me off. So the menu system is completely hidden from the user. It's still there, it's still operating, it's still validating the options, but it's hidden. So this is one way to create a macro. This is the graphical method in part of Atrium. But there is another way to create a macro which is more suitable for someone who's a programmer, more suitable if there's 3 or more levels in the tree of the menu or complex menu systems. So this involves creating a macro file on the IFS. So I'm going to bring up our little file here. It's in www, normally Profound UI. This one's instance is called PI Video, macros folder, and the file is called demo macro.xml. We need to use that name when we use the macro later on. So I've got the shell set up. This is how it operates with detect once flag, and it's detecting our display program messages. So let's just confirm how that operates. So display program messages, again it's row 1, column 16. And if I bring the text up, row 1, column 16, display program messages, we press the enter key. Okay, so let's do the other options here. Paste in the detecting the main menu. So here we go, detect once, row, column number, and text. So once again, let's go to our main menu. So here's our menu heading, and it's row 1, column 28. Oops. Row 1, column 28. And the text we're looking for is RPG Open Access Demo menu. Then we put an input into a field, and it's row 20, column 7. Row 20, column 7. So here we could put option 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, but again we're going to use a variable name, so we put those in braces, and the variable name will be menu option, and that will be past the menu option number for the menu. Then what do? We press enter. Okay, again we want to detect the main menu and sign off. If we go back to the main menu, this is done with a detect flag, and copy this detection row here for the ID. So the first time we detect the main menu, do the menu option. The second time we sign off. Let's go ahead and save that. Again, our macro name is called demo macro. So in Atrium, how do we set that up? Let's go to the control panel, and we want to go to the navigation panel. Let's create a second menu or folder to put these in so we don't confuse them. The menu group will be, say, XML macro options, just so we don't get confused with our first section. Okay, so let's add our first menu option to call the macro. So the first one, what do we call it? Features green. So to call it this way, we don't select Genie macro, we actually select web application. And we put a URL in here, which I'm going to use our text editor to lay it out so we can see it more clearly. We start with /profoundui /auth/Genie. This allows Genie to run without signing in each of the tabs in Atrium. That's what the auth part of the URL does for us. We then put the name of the macro. Macro equals demo macro. That's the name of our macro file that we created. We then put the name of the variables that we're using in our macro. We only have one variable in this case, and it's called menu option. So we go var 1, variable 1 equals menu option. That's this variable name right here. Then the value 1 equals, that'll be 1, 2, 3 or 4, etc. In our case it's 1. Let's copy that URL and put it right there. Let's go ahead and test this to make sure it works before we duplicate it on the other menu options. Here's our first set of macro options. Here's our second one. There we go. Exit signs us off. So we're good. Let's complete that for the other menu options. So the second option we want to create is features converted. Web application, the URL, but option 2. Features enhanced is our third one. For option 3. And features drag is our last one. And that'll be option 4. So let's update that and save it, and we'll check our options. Features green, we know works okay. Features converted. Features enhanced. And features drag. Beautiful. Okay, I hope this has been helpful to explain how Atrium navigates through your existing menu system using macros. We have the graphical macro, suitable for non-programmers, good for up to 1 or 2 levels of menus. XML macro options normally for programmers who are familiar with XML, but able to handle multiple levels of menus, complex menus, and this is the preferred method for 3 or more levels of menus.